Starting to see the rolling hills. We are on our way to Kentucky. Been traveling on Carter City roads, and they just weave back and forth and back and forth. Not sure what they're doing up here, but they've got that whole hillside dug up. We've been seeing a bunch of trucks, dump trucks, and now we know why. Down here in that creek, you can't see the creek. Yeah, there it is. That's where all the baptisms were held when we lived down here. We moved down to Olive Hill, Kentucky when our son was 3 months old. And we stayed until after he was 2, what, 2.5, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And we haven't been down here for, we can't remember how many years it's been, but it's been at least 7, 8 years old.
It's been at least 10 years. It's way before I got sick.
Oh, okay. So it's been a long time. We just both have been having the desire to get back down and just look at things and reminisce. We'll show you where we used to live at, and we'll show you where Steve ran a tire shop down here with his dad. This was the tire shop that Steve ran. Now you guys got to remember, this was 32 years ago, I believe.
Old kid's horse that you...
Oh, really?
Springs and stuff sitting in there and some other stuff.
Aw, yeah, it's really changed.
No.
Up above it.
That right there.
Okay, there's the house right there that we lived in. It's totally different now. They've added on. And way up on the hill up there, Steve's dad had a...
Junkyard.
Yeah, junkyard.
Well, now the big house that they lived in's gone.
Yeah, that's gone. This is a little town that we would run up to. They had a little store, and we would run up here if we needed, you know, milk or whatever. And the store was right there. And it's closed, and the windows are all busted out. It's amazing how 30-some years makes makes a difference, and not always for the best.
So the way we got down here, the reason we moved, Dad had retired from his work at the steel mill, and he wanted to move back down here and start a junkyard. And so I was working at a tire shop at that time, so we decided to move down with them and start a junkyard. So at first we had it just at the house where Mom and Dad lived at, And then we rented that garage and moved it up to there. And when we went up to the garage, we started selling tires too, since I knew about doing tires and everything. And so that lasted for a couple of years. Well, we were doing pretty good business. And some other people down here seen that we did good business. So after about a year and a half, there was like 3 other junkyards that started right up around us within a 5-mile radius of us. And it was too much, and we shut down, and now it looks like all of them have shut down too. They're not there anymore. So they kind of blew it for everybody by just starting a junkyard and putting too many in one little area. So, but we lived down here for a couple of years and we enjoyed it and stuff. It was a more slow pace down here than what it is in Ohio. You know, people don't get in a big hurry down here. A lot friendlier. We've had all kinds of people waving at us since we've already been down here right now. But so yeah, it's a little slower pace and stuff. So.
Yeah, that was the little place our son got his very first haircut. We are in Moorhead, Kentucky right now. So pretty coming out of Moorhead. All around is the hills. It's gorgeous.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
Well, I just thought of something. All of these, what I keep calling hills, are part of the Appalachian Mountains. So, you know, it's really beautiful. When you live down here, you almost get used to looking at all of it. But now that we haven't been back in so long, it's just beautiful. How about we were just driving around, that we would share maybe some stories about, like when we lived down here. Like Steve told you guys, well, maybe I told him, I can't remember. Levi was only 3 months old when we moved down here. And how it happened was the house that I showed you guys on the video, we lived there, and then Steve's mom and dad lived across the field where that house is gone now, and there's another place, another house there. And I was over at the house. You want to tell him? Go
ahead, because I was down at the garage.
Okay, so
and Dad both were.
Okay, me and of course Levi were home, and you know, back then I didn't have a washer and dryer, and I didn't have a telephone, and you know, no cable or nothing. So all I did was play with, you know, my baby all the time, trying to teach him things. And well, we were playing, and all of a sudden I heard gunshots, and I thought, what in the world? I could tell they were coming from where my mother-in-law lived at, and Steve and his dad were down at the garage, like you said. So I wasn't going to walk, you know, all the way over there with the baby, and I'm not sure, did your mom call?
She called down there and had Dad come up.
Okay. She had been mowing the yard with a push mower and ran across a, what was it?
Copperhead.
Copperhead. So she runs in the house, gets her a pistol, shoots that thing. I don't know how many times. Six times?
It held 6 bullets. She shot it 6 times.
Oh my goodness. Instead of just like running over it with the lawnmower. But she was funny. We had some fun times down here when we lived here. We had some depressing times too, because I was a brand new mommy, and Levi was real colicky. And you know, back then they didn't have all the fancy formulas. The only one that they had that kind of helped was the soy milk one. But yeah, I would walk up and down that little driveway, and I wore out, I think it was 3 sets of wheels on his stroller. And because I would push him up and down, and it was gravel, just anything to get him, you know, so he wouldn't be in pain and hurting so bad. But if I wouldn't have had him with me, I don't know what would have happened, because he was, you know, he was my everything then. Steve worked from morning until night. And, you know, we hadn't been married that long. I think we was married,
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years when Levi.
Oh, gee. We were married in January of 85. He was born in March of 87.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, thank goodness I had him to keep me sane. But yeah, when we moved back from Ohio, from here to Ohio, back home, I had went up and I had spent 2 weeks, I think it was, with my dad and mom. And when I got home, I told Steve I just couldn't take it no more. I had, you know, we went to church down here. We found a little church to go to, but they were a lot different than, you know, what we were. And, you know, with no phone, I couldn't talk to my mom. Me and mom and dad, of course, had always been so close. And they came down, you know, every chance they got, they came down and visited us. But I told Steve I just couldn't take it anymore. And even though the business had slowed down, his dad knew that he was going to end up having to shut it down anyway. So Steve and I packed up everything we owned in one day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I rode all the way in the back of a pickup truck from here all the way back home to Ohio. Now I don't even know if you're allowed to do something like that, but it's amazing how time flies. Oh, you could have went in there.
Yeah.
Oh, what a pretty little church. I remember this. Yeah, try it and see.
You know.
Back up in there. They've got 2 driveways that go downhill into the church parking lot, and he passed the one again, so just gonna back up here
I
and
thought
see.
it used to be just one driveway.
It might have been.
know.
Might have been, honey. I'll show you guys around. It's really cute. Look at that cute church. Nestled between the hills here. Really pretty. On each side are hills. And each side has a graveyard. You can actually pull up in there if you want. You don't want to?
No.
I'll show you these great big old trees. They just cut them, topped them. But they left the trees. I'm not sure why. And there's one right there too. Huh. But see, it goes way up a hill there. And then way up a hill here. They've even got stuff about the COVID down here. Due to COVID-19, there will be no in-person collecting Memorial Day for the yearly cemetery dues. Oh, okay. Down here in Kentucky, they take dues from all the family members. And I tell you, when we lived down here, people would get together and they would bring their lawn chairs and sit out with wherever their loved one was buried at. Spend the day together just reminiscing and talking. And I just seen this little child, a couple months old, but I thought how pretty that sounds. budded on earth to bloom in heaven. Never heard that before. It's really pretty. A lot of old graves. I found me some shade and a concrete bench that I'm sitting on. It's hot out in that sunshine. It's in the high 80s down here. Yeah, we've had a great day. Even though I was up all night long last night, you guys. Steve got up about 6 or 6:30 when he said, well, we could get ready and go to Kentucky. And I said, all right, if you want to. I slept just a little bit on the way down, and yeah, I feel good though. Feel good. It's been a fun day. I'll turn you around. I hope I'm not doing that too fast for you. And Steve's over there, way down there, see him? He is trying to get pictures of all of the gravestones of his ancestors. He's really wanting to do some type of Ancestry.com, but that costs too much money. And so he's just trying to go a different route. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my grandma, which would be my mom's mom. All of my family's from down here. And my mom's mom had the funniest personality. She was just a funny person. No matter what kind of stories she told you, she would crack you up. And I always loved that about her, because I wish I was more like that, but it's just not me, So anyway, I wanted to tell you, when she was a young girl, I think she said she was probably around maybe 9, something like that. She had a lot of siblings, a whole lot of sisters and only one brother. And her mother, at the time, they didn't know what happened. They thought that she had a nervous breakdown. But now, because of how things are, they know more now, they believe that she might have just been going through the change of life. And she was depressed, and I guess stayed in bed, and the kids kind of had to fend for themselves, and her husband ended up having her put away. That's what they did back then, So they put my grandma's mom away. Grandma says she remembers them coming in, and her mom had been hiding in, they didn't have closets, they were real poor. They had a chef robe, and her mom was in there hiding, I guess. So they took her away, took her to an insane asylum, and they ended up doing a lobotomy. And that is what they used to do back then. I watched a documentary about, I'm trying to change arms, about that. And that was something that they did to a lot of people. One of the Kennedy children, they did that to her too. She was never the same. But my great-grandmother did not last very long after that. We don't know. We don't know anything else about her. It's a shame. I don't have pictures of any of them. The only pictures that we have is of my grandmother as an adult. I don't have any of her when she was little, but I'm telling you, she was, like I said, she was so funny. Her and her sisters and her brother, they would get on those little sapling trees, and one of them would climb up to the top, and the rest of them would pull it down to bend the tree down, and then they would let go, and that person would fling and fly off. Now, she said it's a wonder they didn't get killed themselves, but they didn't. They just had a great childhood, even though they, of course, missed their mother and stuff, but they had a good time. She was so funny. I wish so bad I would have had her on camera telling some of her stories. She was a hoot. The one that he's in front of there, that is his grandma and grandpa, his dad's mom and dad. And there's the little church that we attended when we lived down here. Whoops, with the green roof. Right up here, you're going to see a bunch of steps going up. And now it's a historical society. But it used to be the high school. And people would climb them steps every day to get to school. Can you imagine?
Also, we'll go past Carter Cave State Park, and we spent a lot of time at that when we lived down here. And as a kid, whenever me and my brother were still home, Dad had bought a motor home, and we hooked our Chevette up to the back of it and pulled it down here. And we'd come down to Carter Caves probably once a month or so and camp out for a weekend or for the week or whatever. And me and my brother would just take off in the mornings and go. After we ate breakfast, come back, eat lunch, take off again, come back, eat dinner, and take off again until it got dark or 9, 10 o'clock, and come back home, come back to the camper. And so we just ran around down here. But you know, that was back in the mid to late 70s, so stuff didn't happen back then like it does nowadays. You can let your kids go and have some fun and stuff. But.
Yeah. When we lived down here, my sister Patty and her husband and their family, they came down to visit us, and Steve was working, and Levi had just had his shots, and I believe he was around 5-6 months old, and I had to carry him. He was real fussy because he was, you know, from having those shots. And he loved it when we went into the caves because they were all very, very cool. And it was hot out. So it couldn't have been 5 or 6 months old. Oh, black bears. I would love to see a black bear. Go over there, babe. Oh, look how that trees are growing on that rock. We had just talked about on my channel about grow where you are planted. And they certainly have. But anyway, I have a great uncle that lives right up near the land that my great grandpa lived on. And now, you know, my uncle owns it all. But I wanted to visit the cemetery, the family cemetery, which is right by that, you know, where my great uncle lives. And of course, there was no internet, no
data, no nothing.
yeah, no nothing back there. We were so far back, I couldn't believe it. Crossed, what was it, 3 little bitty bridges.
That's where that little gravel road come out.
Oh, okay. That were big enough for barely a car to get on. That was a little bit scary. But anyway, so we are heading home, and we've had a wonderful day. I'm disappointed, even though I shouldn't be, because it's been so long since I've been there to the graveyard. But I tell you, next time we're going to plan, and we're going to have some addresses and stuff written down so that we know, or directions, so we know exactly how to get everywhere. I also wanted to go where my dad was born and raised, and I think they called it Smoky, and I don't know where that's at either. So yeah, before Steve and I come back down again, we are going to be more prepared, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we've had a great day today, just being together, and it's just been a gorgeous day. Hope you guys enjoyed being along with us and seeing some of the beautiful mountains and trees and the stone like this one. That look at that. They have cut that thing in layers to keep it for the rocks from falling. Alright, God bless. Have a great evening. Talk to you next video.